Ever heard about that company? So excited about the cloud.
Right.
It's like packed up everything and went all in, hit the migrate button,
Oh, boy.
and then bam, this massive bill shows up, like something out of a horror movie. Turns out migrating to the cloud without a solid plan, recipe for disaster.
Yeah, you can end up in a world of financial hurt that way. And that's where FinOps comes to the rescue. We're doing a deep dive today, looking at how to successfully onboard to the cloud, and our trusty guide for this journey, the FinOps framework.
We're talking avoiding those unexpected costs, making sure the whole migration goes, well, smoothly.
And a key part of that is something called the Onboarding Workloads capability, which we'll be digging into today.
Think of it like your roadmap, to make sure you get where you want to go in the cloud without hitting every financial pothole along the way. Because it's more than just moving day, isn't it?
It's way more.
It's not like you just decide to move to a new house without thinking about the little things, right? The commute, the schools, the neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's a whole strategy involved. It's not just about finding an empty house and dumping your boxes. You have to align it with your business goals. What are you trying to achieve? Are you escaping a data center that's about to go kaput? Or maybe a merger has thrown your whole IT landscape into chaos.
Or maybe there's this amazing new tech you need the cloud for.
Exactly. Figure out the why behind your cloud migration, and you're already off to a good start.
So strategic onboarding, that's key. And the FinOps framework breaks it down into 3 main stages: strategy, planning, and coordination. Let's start at the beginning, right? Strategy. What kind of strategic thinking should people be doing before they even think about migrating a single file?
Think of it this way. Imagine you're picking a neighborhood before you even start looking at houses. You wouldn't just pick one at random, right?
No.
You have criteria, your budget, the commute, schools for the kids if you have them.
And maybe how close the nearest coffee shop is. That's important.
Exactly. It's the same with cloud migration. You've got to decide which applications are good candidates for the move. Which ones will actually benefit from what a cloud offers.
So we're talking about that essential link between what the business wants to do and the tech decisions we're making.
Exactly. And that's where this idea of a value versus effort matrix comes in.
Now, before anyone tunes out thinking it's just more corporate jargon.
Right. Let me explain. Say you have a list of all these apps you could move to the cloud. Some might have huge potential, but they take a ton of work to migrate. Others might be super easy to move, but they don't really change the game for your business.
So it's about finding the sweet spot.
This matrix helps you see those trade-offs, visually. It helps you pick the migrations that'll give you the most bang for your buck.
So we're strategically prioritizing those apps that line up with our goals, the ones that give us the most value. But you also have to figure out, what does success actually look like for this whole migration?
You've got to define it. Absolutely. Are you aiming for pure cost savings? Or is it about moving faster, becoming more agile? Maybe it's a bit of performance you need. Whatever it is, you've got to define those goals clearly right from the start.
Otherwise, how do you know if it's even working?
Exactly. You're just flying blind at that point.
Makes total sense. Okay, so that's strategy, stage 1. We've got our game plan. We know what we want to achieve. Now it's time to, as they say, roll up our sleeves and get into the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. It's planning time.
So stage 2, planning. What's next?
Remember those migration candidates we picked out earlier back in the strategy phase? Now we've got to build a rock-solid business case for each one. And we're talking about real numbers here.
Cold, hard cash.
Exactly. What's the potential return on investment? What are the upfront costs versus the long-term savings? But it's not just about crunching numbers in a spreadsheet.
Right. Gotta keep the big picture in mind.
We have to compare what's it worth to stay put versus making the move. What are the differences in what you get, the functionality, availability, the performance between your current setup and the cloud?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, going with the cheapest option can actually end up costing you more down the line if it means you're sacrificing something crucial.
So we're thinking about the impact on the entire business, not just the IT department's budget.
Exactly. A good plan takes everything into account. And that includes how you actually migrate each application. Which brings us, of course, to stage 3.
Coordination. Sounds like this is where having that solid foundation we've built with strategy and planning becomes really important.
Now we're talking execution. This is where you set up your cloud landing zones.
Okay, now cloud landing zones. For those of us who haven't quite mastered fluent cloudies yet, what exactly are those?
Imagine them as these dedicated areas within your cloud provider's platform. They're like tailored virtual data centers just for your applications.
So it's not just dumping everything into one giant cloud bucket.
Definitely not. You have to think about things like geographic location,
Mhm.
especially if you have data privacy regulations to worry about. And then there's redundancy. So if one part of the cloud hiccups, your apps are still up and running. And of course, we've got to consider cost optimization here too.
So lots of details to think about. What else falls under the coordination umbrella?
This is where you define your milestones. What are the key checkpoints we need to hit along the way? Helps you stay on track, spot potential problems early on, and just as important, celebrate the wins. And of course, we can't forget about good old-fashioned project management.
Right, because the best strategy in the world won't help if there's no one to steer the ship, keep everyone moving in the same direction.
Exactly. You need clear roles and responsibilities, clear communication. And it's got to be a team effort. Engineering, finance, security, everyone's got to be on the same page.
Hmm.
We're talking about coordinating across the entire organization. And that's where really understanding the different perspectives at play can be so helpful. And the FinOps framework has a neat way of looking at this. They talk about personas.
Okay, personas. Tell me more.
So instead of these kind of vague ideas about teams, FinOps puts like faces to the names, or at least roles to the titles. And each persona, they have their own motivations, their own challenges when it comes to cloud onboarding. Take engineers, for example.
The ones who actually make the magic happen, right? Hands on the keyboard.
Yeah, exactly. And for them, a successful cloud onboarding, it might mean getting to use those cool new tools like infrastructure as code.
Which is?
It basically means they can write code to automate a lot of the infrastructure setup and management. So we're talking platforms like Terraform. They can just write some code and boom, their cloud environments are automatically provisioned and configured.
Way less time messing around with servers manually.
Exactly. It frees them up to focus on the stuff that really gets them going, building new things, innovating. And that, of course, translates directly to value for the business, too. You get faster deployments, more reliable infrastructure.
Happier customers, hopefully.
Exactly. It's a win-win. But it's not just the engineers we have to think about.
Definitely not, because someone has to keep an eye on the bottom line, right? Make sure we're
Yeah.
not just throwing money at the cloud.
Exactly. Cue the finance team. They may not be writing the code, but they are the guardians of the budget, making sure those cloud costs don't get out of hand.
Making sure those cool new cloud services don't end up breaking the bank.
Exactly. For the finance team, successful cloud onboarding, it means having crystal clear visibility into who's spending what. It means accurate forecasting, so no surprises at the end of the month. And it means being able to justify those cloud investments. Show the return on investment, black and white.
So no more nasty surprises when that cloud bill arrives in the inbox.
Exactly. That's the goal. And then, of course, we have the leaders, the ones calling the shots. They're thinking big picture budget allocations, overall strategy, all of that.
They're the ones saying, okay, how does this whole cloud thing fit into our long-term plan?
Right. They want to see those cloud investments paying off in a real, tangible way. Maybe it's about getting new products to market faster, or maybe it's about getting an edge on the competition.
It's not just about saving money, it's about transforming the entire business.
Exactly. And those are just a few of the key players in the cloud onboarding journey. Now, the FinOps framework recognizes that not everyone is starting from the same place, right? Some organizations are just dipping their toes into the cloud. Others are practically swimming in it.
Different levels of cloud comfort.
That's where this idea of the crawl, walk, run model comes in.
Hmm.
And it's great because it takes the pressure off.
Not everyone's going to be a cloud expert right out of the gate.
Exactly. It's about figuring out where you are on your cloud journey and then taking the right steps to move forward. So if you're just starting out, you're in that crawl phase, your cloud footprint is small, maybe you're testing things out with a few non-critical applications just to get a feel for it.
Low risk, low complexity. Sounds like a good place to start.
Right. Get comfortable first. Collaboration might be a bit more informal at this stage. You might not have dedicated FinOps teams or really complex automated workflows yet. It's about getting used to this new world.
Building those cloud muscles one step at a time.
Exactly. But as you get more experience under your belt, you'll naturally progress to that walk phase. You start scaling up your cloud usage, moving more critical workloads over, maybe even going multi-cloud.
So things are getting more serious. What are some of the things that can trip organizations up if they're not careful during this walk phase?
One of the biggest ones is not setting up proper cost allocation. When you're just starting out, it's maybe okay to have a general idea of what you're spending on the cloud.
Right, like it's a chunk of money, but we're experimenting.
Exactly. But as your cloud usage grows, You need to know exactly who's using what and how those costs map back to specific teams or projects.
Otherwise, it just becomes a big black hole of cloud expenses.
Exactly. And without that clear visibility, you can't really optimize your spending, right?
Makes sense. All right, so we've crawled, we've walked, time to run.
That's right, the run phase. This is where you're operating at scale.
A well-oiled, cloud-powered machine.
You've got mature FinOps practices baked into the organization, robust automation, and everyone's on board with this idea of cloud financial accountability.
Sounds impressive. But no matter where you are on that crawl, walk, run path, you've got to measure your progress.
Absolutely. Can't improve what you don't measure, right? And FinOps success, it's about more than just saving money.
It's about making sure those cloud dollars are actually helping you achieve your bigger business goals.
100%. Are you getting those new products out the door faster? Are your customers happier? Are your teams freed up to focus on the stuff that really moves the needle? These are the questions you need to be asking.
Those are some big wins right there. And I know the FinOps framework provides a ton of what they call key performance indicators or KPIs to help actually measure progress in all of those areas.
Think of it as a dashboard for your cloud finances. It gives you those insights. You choose the KPIs that are most relevant to what you're trying to achieve.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's about finding the metrics that matter most to you. What's an example of a KPI that a lot of companies would be laser-focused on?
Time to market is a big one. How quickly can you get those new products and features into the hands of your customers? That can make or break a business these days.
Especially in today's world, speed is everything.
If going cloud can shave weeks, even months off your development cycle, that's huge.
Totally. And it's not just about speed, it's about agility, right? Being able to change direction quickly, adapt to new situations.
Exactly. The cloud gives you that flexibility. Need to scale up quickly? No problem. Want to try something new? Go for it. Cloud makes it all possible. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Strategic onboarding, the different personas involved, that crawl, walk, run model.
Don't forget about the importance of actually measuring success, not just assuming it's all going swimmingly.
Right. We're not just throwing darts blindly here. We have to define what success looks like, track it, and be able to show those tangible results. But before we wrap things up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, choosing the right KPIs. What are some other good examples that might be especially useful for this whole onboarding process?
Well, besides time to market, there's deployment frequency. How often are you pushing out new releases?
Right, because if you're only releasing new stuff once a year, something's not right.
Exactly. And then there's lead time for changes. How long does it take to go from, hey, we need this new feature, to actually having it live?
Those are all about speed and agility.
And they're all directly tied to how well your cloud onboarding is going. If you've nailed it, you should see those numbers moving in the right direction.
It's like you swapped out that old clunker of a car for a brand new sports car. Suddenly you're moving faster, smoother, everything just works better.
Exactly. Speaking of things working better, we've talked a lot about the speed and agility side of things. What about some KPIs that are more directly related to the financial side?
Yeah, because saving money is still a big part of why people move to the cloud in the first place.
Absolutely. One that's really useful is cost per unit. Basically, this helps you track how much it costs to deliver one unit of whatever it is you're offering. Maybe it's a customer making a purchase on your website or a product rolling off the assembly line.
So you can see if those costs are going down as you scale up your cloud operations.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting because it ties those cloud costs directly to business value. And of course, we can't forget about everyone's favorite topic, cloud waste.
Ah, yes, the silent budget killer.
It's one thing to know how much you're spending overall, but are you actually using all the stuff you're paying for? That's the real question.
Those idle resources, the over-provisioned virtual machines, they can really add up.
And that's where having those right tools and processes in place is so important. Being able to spot that waste and eliminate it can free up so much budget. And then you can put that money towards things that actually move the needle for your business.
Which, of course, brings us back to that all-important alignment between your cloud setup and your bigger business objectives.
Exactly. This isn't about penny pinching for the sake of it. It's about making sure those cloud dollars are working as hard as they can to help you achieve your goals.
Love it. So as we come to the end of our deep dive into the world of cloud onboarding and the FinOps framework, what are your top takeaways? What do you really want our listeners to remember?
I think the biggest thing is this. Cloud onboarding, it's not just an IT project. This is a whole business transformation we're talking about here. You need that strategic mindset. Figure out your goals, where you're starting from, and how fast you can realistically move.
Don't try to boil the ocean on day one.
Exactly. Take it step by step. Define that strategy, plan it out, get everyone on board. And remember those FinOps personas we talked about.
Right, those different perspectives.
Understanding where everyone's coming from, what their priorities are, it makes the whole journey so much smoother. And don't be afraid to start small, get some wins under your belt, Use that crawl, walk, run approach to guide you.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
And whatever you do, don't skip the measurement part. Figure out which KPIs are your North Star metrics. Use them to track your progress, spot areas where you can improve, and show the impact of all your hard work.
Because you've got to be able to demonstrate that ROI, show that the cloud is delivering on its promises.
Exactly. And remember, cloud onboarding, it's not like you reach the finish line and you're done. It's a continuous process.
Always learning, always adapting, always looking for ways to do things better and smarter.
And the great thing is, with the right tools, the right frameworks, and the right mindset, you can absolutely harness the power of the cloud to do amazing things. Drive innovation, become more agile, and ultimately grow your business.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of cloud onboarding. Until next time, keep exploring, keep innovating, and keep your cloud costs under control. We'll catch you on the flip side.